Hi, I'm Bill the Domestic Monk. Welcome back to another video, and thanks very much for watching. So recently, biologist and avowed atheist Richard Dawkins gave an interview where he claimed to be a cultural Christian. He said he likes Christianity's great churches and cathedrals, the hymns and the Christmas carols, and he prefers the so-called Christian culture to all others. But there's no such thing as a cultural Christian. You're not a Christian if you don't believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, became man, lived among us, sacrificed his life for us, and left his church for us as a means of grace for our salvation. It was that church which produced the things Dawkins spoke about so fondly in his interview. And Dawkins went on to say, "And I find that I like to live in a culturally Christian country, although I do not believe a single word of the Christian faith." Richard Dawkins is not a cultural Christian. He's an anti-Christian, benefiting from the society built on the faith and sacrifices of true Christians. It was their sacrifice for Christ, whom he dismisses outright, that built the society he wants to live in. But that society will not remain simply by keeping churches around and singing hymns and Christmas carols. That's the whole story of the Old Testament. The Jewish people who God favored became cultural Jews and turned time and again to false idols rather than remaining faithful to God. Jesus condemned them this way: "This people honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the precepts of men." Many who claim to be cultural Christians today, like Dawkins, are doing exactly that. It always ended in tragedy for the Jewish people, and we can be assured, as Christian history has proven, it will not end well for us. Sadly, many who claim to be Catholic today are only nominal Christians at best. They may go to church on Easter and Christmas, but otherwise they're indistinguishable from the Richard Dawkins of the world. Cultural Christianity really means that the culture is no longer Christian. Jesus also warned us about this very thing. Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself will not stand. And neither will the churches and cathedrals Dawkins claims to love without the faith and sacrifice made by those who built them to begin with. The last century alone stands as a stark reminder of that. The Cristero Wars in Mexico as a result of massive oppression of the church. Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia all went to great lengths to eradicate Christianity in the pursuit of cultures openly hostile to it. All three of these countries were once largely Catholic cultures. It always begins with the loss of true faith, which leads to cultural Christianity, then to condemnation, which invariably leads to oppression and persecution. Then all those beautiful churches and cathedrals wind up being repurposed into military barracks and government buildings and prisons for these new great societies that are always being promised but are never delivered upon. But always, Christians are imprisoned, tortured, and martyred. Always. Look what's going on in the world today. Persecution of the church is currently underway by the communists in China, the radical Islams in Nigeria, and the Ortega dictatorship in Nicaragua. It's the same pattern being repeated again and again because we lose faith and become cultural Christians. But people like Dawkins, whom the culture elevates as wise, are somehow blind to it. Attempting to maintain cultural Christianity will only result in the loss of true Christianity, and with it, all the Christian things Dawkins is so afraid of losing. Jesus promised to be with his church until the end of the age, and history has proven that that church will not die. It just goes underground where the faithful, truly Christians keep it alive for the Dawkins of the world to benefit from, and maybe one day repent and become true Christians themselves. That's why as Catholic Christians we need to learn our faith, live our faith, and love our faith. It will serve to carry us through times of oppression and persecution as it has throughout the history of the church. If you like this video, please do me a favor and give it a like and share it with others who you think could benefit from it. So thanks very much for watching, and as always, siempre adelante.